What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of WWE's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is going to be a rather intriguing one because with NXT Great American Bash now in the record books, the question now becomes who's next for Bron Breakker and the NXT title. There's a long list of dudes who are more than capable of challenging Bron Breakker for the NXT title. You have guys like Andre Chase, you've got Apollo Crews, Boa, Bodie Hayward, you got Brooks Jensen, you got the Creed brothers, you've got Carmelo Hayes, you've got Cruz del Toro, Damon Kemp, Dante Chen, Duke Hudson, Adris Enofe, Elton Prince. You've got Giovanni Vinci, Grayson Waller, Guru Raj, Ike Manjiro. You've got J.D. McDonough. You've got Walking Wild, Joe Gacy, Josh Briggs. You've got Kit Wilson, Malik Blade. You've got Nathan Fraser. You've got Roderick Strong, Ru Fang, Sangha, Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa. You've got Tony D'Angelo, Trick Williams, Von Wagner, Wes Lee, Zion Quinn, and just so many others that could potentially be next in line for a shot at the NXT title. Already we know that J.D. McDonough, or I guess Jordan Devlin, has already put his name in the hat for a future title shot. Excuse me, and we know that he's hell-bent on wanting to become the NXT champion, but who else should be champion? Aside from him, there are four that I see potentially challenging Breakker for the title. Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, Tony D'Angelo, and Grayson Waller. I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, wait a minute, Grayson Waller, why him? Despite the ego, despite how big of a jackass he is, he's proven crazy enough. He's proven to be the top guy. You know the potential to be the top guy on NXT. So again, okay, seriously, what is up with my laptop? There we go. So again, in my honest opinion, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and of course, Tony D'Angelo. Obviously, Grayson Waller, we know that he's established himself as a top threat to be the NXT champion. Now as far as Carmelo Hayes goes, excuse me, he could potentially be the second man in NXT history to hold both the NXT title and the North American title in a single run. Obviously, the last person to do it was obviously Keith Lee back at said Great American Bash in 2020 when he defeated Adam Cole to win the NXT title. And of course, we know what happened there. He surrendered the North American title to focus on the NXT title, which I don't blame him for that. Honestly, that I don't blame him. But as far as Apollo Crews goes, Crews had been a part of the main roster since 2016, since the night after WrestleMania, and we know that his run his first run on NXT, it did not live up to the hype. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, Apollo Crews is more fit for the main roster." Yeah, it's true. He was fit for the main roster, but it took him several years to finally win a championship on the main roster, and that being the United States title. And then, of course, a year later, end up becoming the Intercontinental Champion with the help of Commander Aziz at WrestleMania. But now he's dropped everything. He dropped, the character he had before when he was on the main roster, and came to NXT as the Apollo Crews that we knew and loved, if you will. So a guy like Apollo Crews could definitely become a massive threat to Breakker's reign as champion. Now as far as Tony D'Angelo goes, that one would be interesting. That would be a very intriguing matchup because Bron Breakker has nobody but the entire NXT universe, whereas opposed to Tony D'Angelo, he's got Channing Stacks Lorenzo, as well as the rest of Legado del Fantasmas, Joaquin Wilde, and of course Cruz del Toro. Which, to be fair, being a part of the D'Angelo family, that's on Legado. They failed to excuse me. They failed to win that big matchup. I think it was at In Your House. So, but with that being said, Tony D'Angelo could really be arguably one of the biggest threats ever, with the fact that he has Legado, he has Lorenzo in his corner. That could really benefit him. Literally, it could benefit him for the long run. But it depends on how he goes about with it, if you will, in my personal opinion. And then I believe I said Giovanni Vinci. So the reason why I chose Vinci is because people forget he's a former two-time NXT Tag Team Champion alongside Ludwig Kaiser when they were once a part of the faction known as Imperium, which started all the way back in NXT UK when Gunther defeated Pete Dunne at NXT TakeOver New York back in 2019, and that was when Imperium actually started was with Gunther defeating Pete Dunne on NXT UK. You mean? I think it was about a few weeks after, but people forget. Don't let the looks fool you. He is a tough son of a bitch. And when you think about it, aside from JD McDonough, Giovanni Vinci is another dude that could potentially become a big threat to Bron Breakker as champion. So when you narrow down these 5 to just 3, I would have to say Apollo Crews, J.D. McDonough, and Tony D'Angelo. The reason why I chose those 3 and not Vinci and Waller is because with Waller, yes, he does have the potential to be NXT champion. He still has a long way to go before becoming NXT champion. And Vinci, it's ego. His ego will just, let's say Vinci does become NXT champion. It's his ego that'll get in the way of him becoming a major star on not just in NXT but in all of WWE, potentially in the main roster. Whereas opposed to Tony D'Angelo, he's more of the business type, you know. So with that mentality, and with him as NXT champion, who knows? Maybe he could potentially become a main event star on NXT, which is a possibility. But as far as Apollo Crews goes, he's talked about it multiple times in the past. He has a lot left to do in NXT, And one of those things is obviously becoming NXT champion, maybe even also potentially become North American champion, or if he were to find himself a tag team partner, he could go after the tag team titles, which is a possibility. But people forget he can also go to NXT UK and challenge for the NXT UK title, or go after the Heritage Cup title, which was newly won by Mark Coffey this past Thursday on NXT UK. Which, congrats to Mark Coffey on that one. Now, as far as JD McDonough, people forget he was actually the longest reigning cruiserweight champion of the last 30 years. Think about that. The last 30 years. No other superstar held the cruiserweight title for over a year. Than JD McDonough. I don't know why they named him that. They should have just kept Jordan Devlin. It would have made more sense. But it is what it is. But I must admit, though, people also forget that he's challenged for the NXT UK title numerous times, whether it was against Pete Dunne, or I guess Butch for that matter, whether it was against Gunther, or whether it was against Ilya Dragunov, it did not matter. He challenged. I think he might be the only person that has challenged all three men for the NXT UK title. He's the first and only person to do it. But with how good he is in the ring, he could be arguably one of the biggest threats, other than Tony D'Angelo, in my personal opinion. But when you break it down to only just two, that's kind of a hard one. I would have to say McDonough and Cruz, and the reason being is because D'Angelo, he does have the mentality to be NXT champion. I personally feel like as if the only thing that he's gonna do as NXT champion is just nothing. Just do nothing and let the rest of the D'Angelo family do all the dirty work for him. That's just how I see it. Whereas opposed to Cruz and McDonough, they're the type of guys that get the job done on their own. You know, they get the job done on their terms whenever they see fit. And McDonough, with his run as Cruiserweight champion, was one of the biggest that was one of the biggest accomplishments he has ever had in his whole career in WWE. But excuse me. But people also forget that he was actually a semi-finalist in the NXT UK tournament, the first one, anyway, back in 2017. Was it 20? I think it was 2017. I want to see about that really quickly. Hang on. Yeah. I believe it was the first one. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. Maybe it was the first one. Yep, I was right. The first one. The first one was back in 2017. Yeah. Yep. It was definitely it was definitely back in 2017. In fact, the first time that the title had been defended at a takeover was actually was actually what you call it? Was at Takeover Chicago, where we saw a pretty interesting card, to say the very least. We had Roderick Strong defeating Eric Young of Sanity back then. Pete Dunne defeats Tyler Bate, which was an insane matchup. Or I guess Butch, if you will. Asuka defeated both Nikki ASH and Ruby Riott, who is now a part of AEW, unfortunately. Robert Roode defeated Hideo Itami. And then, of course, the match that started it all. AOP and DIY. We all know what happened there. But I must admit, that match between Dunne and Bate at TakeOver Chicago was the match that helped put NXT UK on the map. And Jordan Devlin was one of the major players in that tournament. And even now, to this day, I truly believe, between Cruz and McDonough, I truly believe that McDonough is the perfect man to face Breakker for the NXT title. Not because I don't have any. It's not the fact that I don't have any faith in Cruz. I feel like as if he still needs some time to get used to the new NXT, to the new NXT atmosphere, if you will. So with him competing on NXT every once in a while, that's fine. But I think once Breakker is done with JD McDonough, I think Cruz could very may well be the next challenger for the NXT title. But for now, definitely JD McDonough is one of the biggest, is right now the top biggest threat to Breakker's reign as champion ever, in my personal opinion. But that brings me to the question of the day: who do you guys think should challenge Bron Breakker for the NXT title? Let me know down in the comments below. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want to see more episodes of WWE's Biggest Issue, which get posted every Monday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you guys do not miss out on any new content that comes your way. And make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. All the links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well, if you guys want to send fan mail. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.